Hi guys. Um, this is episode. What is it? Episode 5? 4 of the Alternative Review.
No, it is 5.
5.
It is, but I've lost the second one. So.
Okay. Topic number 1 is underway. What episode is this of the Alternative Review?
Right, yeah. So there was an exclusively streamed episode because somehow the recording is just gone. So there you go. If you're around for that one, then that was it. That's it.
So, first thing that I've read a little bit about this injunction on Trump's policy, the immigration ban.
Mm.
Now that this injunction has been lifted, basically the court in America, basically the ban that Trump's wanting to put in place is basically restricting immigration to people from select Arabic countries, apart from people that have close relatives, right, in the US. Now, as soon as this injunction has been lifted, allowing Trump to start sort of, with the legal processes of this ban, that's going to last for something like 90 days, the US court has massively widened the goalposts for what they consider to be a close relative.
Oh.
So before it would have been close family, like parents, children, siblings.
Yeah.
But now they've they've opened it up to being like grandparents, grandchildren, in-laws as well, and stuff like that.
Third cousins twice removed.
Yeah, I think it's going to go that way, to be honest. And I thought that was an interesting thing to talk about, because it's like, the whole thing makes me wonder who actually voted for Trump.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
In like supposedly the super most democratic country in the world, like apparently people voted for this guy. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. It's funny that I always hear people kicking off about this ban, and like something that keeps getting brought up in defense of it though is like it was Obama that listed these countries like as these
Obama did a ban, and no one even knew about it until Trump did a ban, and then everyone brought up the Obama one.
Yeah, it could be partly because Trump he does have a lot of support, but you need to remember that the mainstream media in general aren't gonna want to broadcast any support for the guy, because the mainstream media in general politically are different.
All the journalists are liberal, aren't they? Basically, yeah. And it just paints I think it's been something that's probably been hit on over quite a lot of our episodes. Is that like you get such a false view of like what the people's the larger opinion of the people is.
Yeah. Just
because of the fact that these journalists all seem to fit in, they widely seem to fit in one sort of quite narrow, actually, demographic.
Well, there's actually statistics you can find online, and the vast majority, I don't know about the UK, but the vast majority of US journalists are obviously liberal. They identify as liberal, and I think it's something like 6% of 6% of journalists in America have a different view.
Yeah.
Which is not a good thing.
It's like I was watching a bit of Milo Yiannopoulos, and he was like saying how the only sort of demographic that is pretty much all like feminists now is just journalists, and so we get this thing where we think that everyone's a feminist when they're just not.
Yeah,
and it's just because all the journalists are, and I think it's the same thing with the Trump hating.
I just realised we really should have made the point that we've got a guest on this week. This is Will, a friend of ours, who's decided to come on for this. I don't know, maybe his next episode as well. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. I was told we were just going to be discussing the weather.
Discussing the weather.
And now I find we're talking about politics. Oh well. I've come well prepared. I know the weather in 6 different countries. None of the political policies. But I'm willing to give my ignorant opinion. But that's crazy about the journalists. I suppose no matter what, you're always going to have that, because there's the people who are going to want to be journalists are probably always going to be educated and people who are interested in literature, which is always going to be limited, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's true.
I mean, although, with modern being able to blog and short Twitter, I suppose that opens up
makes things a bit
possibilities.
better, yeah.
But then again, I mean, how concise is that going to also be?
Again, I mean, the other, I mean, so that would be good, but people's attitudes to these things, like people only sort of follow news networks, like online news networks that largely agree with what they already think anyway.
Well, if you guys remember the fake news controversy, it was originally about the big news corporations like BBC, CNN, Fox News. It was originally about them trying to re-corner their market, which had been taken by online alternative media. Like talk radio and stuff was becoming more popular, and online YouTube news was becoming so popular that they said, okay, we need to scare people basically into watching just big names in news again, and it's really backfired, especially for CNN, who have become synonymous with fake news now after this whole controversy.
That's interesting.
Maybe you could I mean, you've sort of surmised it there, but could you perhaps go into more detail on the whole fake news controversy? Because I'm pretty sure the only time I've ever actually heard anyone say fake news is Trump just accusing people of being fake news.
Well, I actually researched a little bit for my dissertation, but basically what happened was everyone was accusing Trump of lying, right? And but the people who weren't accusing him of lying weren't big news organizations like CNN, NBC News, MSNBC, or even Facebook. None of these companies were agreeing with Trump. They were all prosecuting him, saying he was lying, and then who was agreeing with him was tiny ones. And then the easiest way to shut those guys up was to try and create this blanket thing, call it fake news, and basically anybody who disagreed with the mainstream narrative was called fake news.
Right.
And that's how it kind of grew. But then eventually that became, people were scared fake news was going to get Trump elected and stuff like that. And it turned out that I read an interesting study. They estimate that everybody, no matter who you are, you will 30% of how you receive your information will be views that disagree with your own view. So no matter what, you're always going to get a different view from what's in the rest of your feed. So it's not even that effective as a medium, if it is even real, fake news. And then the whole thing backfired when Trump started calling everybody else fake news. And obviously he's a very charismatic guy, and it stuck when Trump started doing it. It didn't stick when they started doing it.
I see.
He comes up with a buzzword, doesn't he? Like a short snap. It's almost like the way newspapers use headlines. The way they sort of try and think of headlines.
Well, that's actually really interesting that you bring that up with Trump, because do you remember Trump did these things? A linguist called them linguistic kill shots. So Trump would attach a nickname to somebody, and then it would stick to them, and then their popularity would drop. So you had Crooked Hillary.
They become synonymous with it.
Yeah.
Just like
Low energy Jeb was another one.
Low energy Jeb.
That one doesn't have too much of a ring to it, I'm not going to lie.
But it worked.
Yeah.
Was he just always taking naps or something like that?
Yeah.
What about low self-esteem Susan?
But I will admit,
he was actually narcoleptic.
Is he?
No, he's not. That was still a joke. That's the low energy part coming.
I was like, that's actually quite mean if he's got some kind of medical condition.
Oh, man.
But Trump can go too far with stuff like that anyway. Like
He
that
would,
lady.
if he was narcoleptic, he would definitely call him.
Yeah, that would have gone too far. Right, remember that lady on? It's called Morning Joe. Well, I can't remember what it's on now. I think it's on NBC. But there's a thing called Morning Joe, and Trump started making fun of her because she'd had what's it called? She had what's it called? Botox. That's it. And Trump was making fun of her, and I felt like that was a bit too far, and he was being a bit silly.
He's making fun of her having a Botox. The guy who puts yellow paint on his face. That's a comb over.
Admittedly, he doesn't have a great look, does he?
Man,
Has Trump had any
it seems
plastic
like such a
surgery?
petty thing to have.
What?
Has Trump had any plastic surgery?
I don't know, you know.
Because looking at, you can sort of see it, if possibly, in his lips, like, you know what I mean?
Maybe.
He's got the pout, the plastic surgery pout.
He's definitely dyed his hair. He's got to have dyed his hair.
I'd had a tad.
You what?
I had a tan.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, maybe that's just because he is rich. He probably spends a lot of time, like,
In the sun.
well, he's got a golf course in Scotland, so I don't know how he can get a tan from that. But
I think he just loves Wotsits and spends a lot of his time rolling around in Wotsits. just cackling. He's got a swimming pool full of Wotsits that he cackles and rolls in.
He's like Donald Duck, but with the massive like
the money,
gold thing, you know. But it's
Butler?
just what's it?
that's not very Trump. Trump wouldn't go butler. He'd be like, I want you to get me the #1 What's It factory in town. I want to buy it. I want to roll in it. It's going to be incredible.
That's so horrible.
To roll in what? I think I'd like it for the first couple of seconds.
But you'd
And then-
stink for the rest of your life, dude.
Oh, yeah, that's
It
true.
would be horrible.
Wait, you mean that's a bad smell?
What's it smell?
But I've been using it as aftershave
Yeah,
for
but-
ages.
I
Think of
suppose
it
I'll
like
just
this,
get rid
though.
of my what's it deodorant plant.
But I want you guys to think of this, right? Let's say you talk to somebody, okay, and afterwards somebody, like, let's say three of you in a conversation, one of you walks away. One person turns to you and says, "Gosh, that guy smelled like what's it." Do you interpret that to be good or bad?
What?
Oh, man.
Has that guy left a good impression or a bad one?
That's a
It's
great-
cheese, isn't it? It's cheesy breath.
It's a minging, man. I wouldn't trust somebody that smelled like what's it. And if Trump actually
Well,
did
it's even a
smell like
lack of trust there for the what's it.
anybody who could maintain a smell of what's it's routinely throughout his life is not to be trusted.
Is this why you wouldn't lend me your wallet for a while?
That's exactly why I wouldn't.
I thought so.
Good to see that we're staying on topic for once, eh?
Oh yeah.
So, something I would ask about this is what do you guys think about the ban that Trump's proposing?
I think it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah,
Yeah. Looking at the actual countries,
yeah.
I'd say so.
Which countries has he banned from?
I'll get the full list up now, shall I?
It'll be
Yeah.
like Iraq and Syria.
Yeah.
I can't remember all of them.
I'm kind of in two minds about it. On the one hand, I think, on the one hand, yeah, we need some kind of regulation simply from an ideological perspective. Like, it's okay having immigration, but the people coming into the country need to understand that they're there to identify ideologically with some of the country's values. Not all of them, but at least some of them. I agree with that part, but then I think if you want to do a full ban, even though it's not really a ban because there's only a ban until they could reform the laws, if you want to do a full ban, then there are countries that aren't on there that should be, like Saudi Arabia, for example,
Yeah,
should be on the list, but it's not because Saudi Arabia makes money, a lot of money, compared to like Yemen, who make no money, and they're not on the list.
Yemen is on the list, actually.
Yeah, that's what I meant, sorry.
What
Yemen
about
is on
Iran?
the list. Does Iran make hashish?
I'll read them all out here. I'm taking this. This is from CNN Politics, by the way. Unfortunately, but it's Libya, Sudan, Syria, Iran, Yemen, and Somalia is the 6 countries.
I mean, I don't really know. I'm in two minds. I see the benefits and I see the non-benefit. Like, so if you look at the effects of the church and like so in Germany, for example, we're always hearing about immigration in Germany has failed them, but at the same time, the church in Germany has grown like crazy through people who wouldn't have been reached otherwise. You know what I mean? Like, and that I can respect a lot, and that I understand. And I don't think there's anything I would say just saying to somebody you can't come in because you're from this country doesn't work, technically speaking. So I'm in kind of two minds about it. I don't really know. What do you guys think?
Well, there's interesting situations arising now in America with like there's a situation with Iraqi Christians that are facing deportation.
Really?
Yeah. And like, so one of the other stories, I mean, it's sort of related. It's obviously not the same thing about the injunction, but so there's an Iranian woman in Sweden, right? Who she became a Christian secretly in Iran. She's moved to Sweden, and now the Swedish government, right? She's been to lots of sort of what they call like immigration hearings or whatever.
Yeah.
And so far, the Swedish government are sticking to their guns on basically saying that they're going to deport her back to Iran, even though legally in Iran, you know, the penalty for apostasy from Islam is death.
That is bad.
They want to deport her because they don't think she's under any real threat.
What?
That is bad.
They're essentially signing a death warrant.
Yeah.
Mad.
Yeah. And I mean, like in America, there's like around 100 Iraqis that you know they were looking at being deported, but they've let them stay for they've been granted an extra 14 days to sort of have hearings about, you know, obviously why they think they should be allowed to stay, you know, whether or not they're, you know, so they can investigate whether or not their lives are going to be in danger when they go back to Iraq because they're, you know, they're Christians. Yeah. It's a death sentence, isn't it?
Yeah. Once they become apostates in Islam, then essentially they do become refugees because sending them back would mean death. There's no other way around it. They're no longer like economic migrants. They all of a sudden become refugees. So it seems a bit ridiculous to me. And especially if somebody's a Christian, then they at least partly identify with Western values in a way that that somebody who is a practicing Muslim, a truly practicing Muslim couldn't do, I guess. So, oh man, that's a tough situation.
It kind of to adhere to a Christian value system would be to, on a really big level, assimilate to the West.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, the Western sort of society's built on Christian values. It's going more and more away from it, but yeah. But so I mean, yeah, this woman, like the Swedish government, literally, the immigration court over there don't think that she's in any danger, and they're gonna
send her back.
Well, yeah, they've denied her application for asylum so far.
That's insane. That isn't cool.
The thing is, since that's taken up so much track now, she's going to be more easily identified, isn't she? So it's even worse.
Yeah. And it also sets a precedent for other you know, Christian people seeking asylum.
Gosh, what a sad situation.
It's interesting. So it's almost like they're missing the mark on targeting what countries people are from. I mean, obviously it wouldn't be very popular, but you know, they need to be targeting people based on their beliefs and not where they're from.
Well, one thing that shocked me is that, you know, the Syrian refugee crisis.
Yeah.
Do this when you get a chance. Just Google how many immigrants would that be right? Refugees came from Syria during the Syrian refugee crisis. It's absolutely crazy.
I'm guessing it's not many.
It was very, very few came from Syria, and yet the whole thing was called the Syrian refugee crisis. The war in Syria equals people have to get out of there, but most people came from Somalia during that time. It doesn't make any sense.
Man, no, it's all just what we're told, isn't it?
Crazy, man. It's hard to. It's just crazy how a story can be. How we live in a post-truth era, don't we? And it's crazy how truth can be so skewed from our perspective. And if you think we've got it tough and we live in a globalized society, can you imagine how tough it must have been for people like thousands of years ago?
What, to know any better?
Yeah. Like, oh my God, it's crazy. Now we're getting into a bit of this philosophical thing because it's like, how much do you really understand the world that you live in, really? well, you only understand it through the medium through which you see it, and we see it mostly through mainstream media.
Yeah.
And we already know they can be very biased.
Well, yeah, it's like anything that happens anywhere in the world from the perspective of. I mean, like, so war, for example, as we see it in the media, isn't actually what's happened. It's a representation, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's becoming more and more of a bad representation with lots of different things. Because again, it's based on the. I mean, it's influenced by a demographic of, the journalists.
Yeah.
Basically.
One thing that really made me I've been really, I don't know how to feel about it. Have you guys seen any of the coverage of, because Iraq has taken back Mosul from ISIS? Like, if you see the media coverage on that, it's so anti-war, but this is supposed to be it's supposed to be a good thing that we've taken back Mosul from ISIS, but they're spinning it to be that it's almost like a bad thing, and it is a bad thing that so many people have been hurt and so many people have died and so many people have lost loved ones, but it's also supposed to be a good thing that we've beaten ISIS. It's just very weird. I don't really know anymore.
What kind of casualties were there?
From Mosul?
Yeah.
Do you mean like how many? Or
like how many civilian casualties were there?
Oh man, I have no idea. No idea.
Allow me to Google that.
Yeah, do it.
If this is the right one I'm looking at here. US-led coalition admits killing at least 484 civilians in airstrikes against ISIS in Syria and Iraq.
Is that just in airstrikes? So we don't actually know how many during the takeover of Mosul, do we?
I'm not sure.
Interesting to know what kind of comparison that is. So what kind of time period is that? And how does that compare to other wars? Because obviously it's probably nearly always civilian casualties, which is never good, of course.
Yeah.
But, how does that actually compare to other wars?
That's a good question. I mean, you might want a war expert for that, buddy. I'm not sure I could answer you right now. Can you imagine if, Ollie, off the top of his head, could be like, well, yes, during World War II, there was this many people.
Well, I was just thinking, the only war that I don't think there would have been many would have been Falklands, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think we're getting better at it, I think. But I don't know. I assume we're getting better at it anyway, as our technology gets better.
I don't know.
Yeah. But then again, I also think wars probably at one point weren't really around civilian places as well. So, maybe during the 19th or 18th century, you don't exactly have that. Well, you might not have people raiding cities and that sort of thing as much. Maybe, I don't know.
I see what you mean.
Whilst now people are more likely to be around cities.
Yeah, they took place more rurally, I think, didn't they?
Yeah.
But then I don't really know, because if you look at the style of Muslim conquest, for example, their basic tactic was, okay, let's go to the most populated place, kill as many people, take as many women as we can, and then once we've hold it, then we've hold it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't really know.
I've got it here. The actual death toll of innocents in Mosul was 101.
Okay. That's still terrible, but
yes,
it's not as many as I thought it could be. Like, I remember there was this guy on the news saying, oh, they've killed my brother. They killed my brother in the airstrikes during the taking of Mosul. And I was thinking, that must suck. But at the same time, they have freed you from a really oppressive Islamic regime. Do you know what I mean? But I don't really know.
It's difficult, isn't it?
Gosh, we live in such a broken world, don't we?
Yeah.
There's no good side to any of this right now.
Well, I mean, ultimately, somebody has to be sacrificed, because if you send in foot soldiers, then they risk their lives. So, somebody's son, somebody's daughter is always going to be lost in conflict.
Oh, that's sad.
Another interesting thing I was reading about So there's a Christian bookstore in America
Right.
called Lifeway. It's got like a few. It's got like 180 something stores, or I read the number before. So
Adam, you're gonna stop that fiddling, bro. Whatever that is.
Sorry.
185 stores and an online store. So one of their best-selling authors, Jen Hatmaker.
I've heard of her.
Really?
I've
Yeah.
heard that name before. I'm not sure where.
She has a great selection of hats.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Wow.
So she has basically she was one of their best-selling authors, and they have pulled all of her books from their stores because she has publicly affirmed same-sex relationships.
Yeah.
Right.
And okay, so there's a statement here from one of their spokespeople. In the past, Lifeway Christian Resources published several resources with Jen Hatmaker. In a recent interview, she voiced significant changes in her theology of human sexuality and the meaning and definition of marriage, changes which contradict Lifeway's doctrinal guidelines. What's the opinions on that?
I mean, it's just so sad, isn't it? Love is love. Why can't people get used to it? Gay is here to stay. Why can't we all just get with it?
Adam, are you joking?
Yeah, I'm kidding.
Right. Good.
It's okay, Anne.
No, yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't know if I kind of do applaud them in a way because I don't like going into a Christian bookshop and seeing that they've got like
People have
books on the shelves
like,
that are,
compromised stuff.
yeah, like it's stuff that's just like clearly not right. But no, yeah, I think I am just thoroughly on their side. I think it's important for a Christian bookshop to kind of really vet the books that they're selling.
Yeah,
Because
I agree.
They're going to be judged on that. Without a doubt, they're going to be judged on the things that they provide to other people.
I bet you any money though that they still have Joel Osteen books.
Probably, yeah,
Could be.
because they sell, innit?
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's like it wasn't even like she alluded to it. So she's a pastor's wife as well. So I don't
She
know what
was.
that guy's.
She
oh
was.
right.
She's married somebody else, a girl now. Well, married a girl now.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that probably
That explains it.
explains a lot. But so yeah, she literally told a reporter that she thought that LGBT relationships can be holy.
That's a tough one.
Based on what? What is her theology?
She's apparently a Christian. She's a Christian author apparently, and yeah.
But she must be basing her theology on something.
That's the thing. Like as soon as you ask a person with like
To back it up
some
with scripture.
wonky theology, like which part of the Bible are you getting that from? I don't know.
I mean, no matter how you look at it, eventually she's got to choose. She's had to make a choice, and the Bible must have come second in some way, because there's no way that
Yeah, pretty much.
there's no way you can justify that biblically anyway. Though many have tried.
Yeah. There's a tiny little Christian bookshop in March that I've never actually been in. I just remember that Manor one in Wrexham, and their stuff seemed pretty straight edge. So Lifeway, which draws in 2.7 million customers a year, has chosen not to stock or to discontinue several prominent Christian authors, including Joel Osteen, William T. Young, Joyce Meyer, due to
good.
doctrinal standards. In recent years, the chain pulled titles from Mark Driscoll and books about heaven tourism, and despite remarks from Rachel Held Evans, it does not ban all books with the word vagina. I'm not sure what that's alluding to.
Well, I say well done to them.
Yeah, I think that's cool. They're it's not like yeah, even if they're wrong, even if they've got it wrong, at least they're trying their best to stick to what they think is the right way of viewing it.
I mean, yeah, power to them. If they want to make decisions based on for theological reasons that they think are going to edify and build up their local communities, then power to them. To be honest, everybody should visit the local Christian bookshop.
Unless you live out in the back end of nowhere, like me, and you don't
Do you not
have
have one?
a local
Do you not have
Christian
one?
bookshop. No, we had a library, and the library's now closed down.
Oh,
That's the end
Sad.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah, who needs knowledge?
Yeah.
Right?
Who needs that? Well, that's the thing, though. It's with the rise of the internet, no one goes to the library anymore, anyway.
That's kind of true. I pretty much only go there to print stuff off these days.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think the library's great. You get free books, essentially. As long as you're not
No,
late.
you have to give them back, Will.
What? You mean you? Are you sure? Never minded before.
Rocks up with like a trolley full of books. Like, how much do I owe you? Yeah, about 35 grand, mate.
Oh.
Ooh.
My mistake.
I could probably fill up a library with a lot of that.
Did you say it was called Lifeway, Ollie?
Yeah.
Lifeway.
Yeah.
Accepted
I
IMU.
really commend them for doing that. You know, I think
it's
The-
cool.
yeah. I mean, we live in a time like. Have you seen the Church of England made a decision a long time ago? Do we stand with the biblical principles, or do we bend to the 21st century view of morality around sexual happiness?
Yeah.
And they said, well, we're going to stand to biblical principles, but it's been called into question again, and they're doing another vote on it, and I'm just like, it's never going to end if you keep calling them.
It's a
new vote.
no-brainer, man. If you think there's any question, then get out. Do you know what I mean? You're in the
Yeah.
wrong house, mate. Like
It's
if
tough.
if you really think you need a vote on such a thing, you might be in the wrong place. Like,
Have you heard of Sam Alberry?
no.
He's a openly gay Christian author, but he's a what's it called? I nearly said a eunuch, but it's not a eunuch. It's
Celibate.
yeah, he's celibate.
I've seen him talk
Yeah.
about that. That's unreal.
He's mint. He was invited down to the first vote on whether they should change the theology surrounding
Yeah.
same-sex marriage, and his comment was insanely good. And he literally only stood up for like 20 seconds, and he said, and he read all the Bible verses around it, and then he said, "My question to the Church of England isn't whether they understand this scripture, but it's whether they believe it." And then he sat down, and that was it. And I was like, yeah.
Oh gosh. And that's obviously a guy that's put his money where his mouth is. Like,
Yeah.
as well.
Exactly.
Mm.
Man, I think it's meant to have him like in the
Yeah.
kind of forefront now, because you can sort of point to him and be like, he's literally doing it exactly right.
I've got a question for you guys then, based on that whole thing. Have you heard of the term gay conversion therapy?
No,
Yes.
I don't think so.
Jake, what do you make of it? What do you think?
I mean, I haven't looked into it or anything. I've literally just heard the term as being like, and like people, I don't know how realistic it is, but people kind of portray it as the Clockwork Orange type of like, you know, dripping pipettes into your eyes while the flash images in front of you, you know. And I
Is
mean, I don't
it
know how
trying to
real
get
that is.
people to be gay, or
No,
get
no.
people not to be gay?
It's
No.
the other way around. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the other way around. Because one thing, I was having a little bit of a debate with somebody at work, and he was basically the argument was, has the Christian Church ever done anything wrong? And I said the Catholic Church's theology wrecked people for a long time.
Yeah.
But I said that yes, of course, the Christian Church has done stuff wrong. Of course, it has. It's broken. And I said, but look to the example of Christ. And then he was like, well, do you think gay conversion therapy is wrong? And my response was, I really don't know if I think it's wrong. I don't know enough about it, like you guys have said. But what I can tell is that it's very controversial, especially in the USA, partly because it does work. So let me just explain. Basically, gay conversion therapy is supposed to be, from what I've heard, is through a series of Bible studies and prayer, gay people reform themselves into straight people.
Is it difficult or?
I mean, it depends on each person, doesn't it?
Right.
I don't really know. But I don't understand. I couldn't understand, sorry, why this was so controversial, right? Because I was like, who cares if somebody wants to decide to do that? Who cares? It's up to them. And apparently, I read a thing from Dr. Brown, and he was interviewing this person who's there's this thing called ex-gay, and there's an ex-gay caucus, which is just like a big community of them in America, political community of them, and they have stopped being invited to almost every political get together because the presence of them is apparently too offensive to people to suggest that somebody could reform the way that they think and the way that they act in that way. And I just think that's
Right.
because it's damaging to the narrative, isn't it? It's damaging to the board gay narrative.
Yeah, you're born like that. It's just the way you are. You can't change it, sort of thing.
Well,
there's no choice involved.
There is. I promise you, there's a huge community of them in America, ex-gay people. Yeah, all you have to do, go on YouTube and just type in ex-gay testimony. It's amazing.
Smart. So it's actually worked.
Yeah, it generally works.
So they just suddenly like women again, or
no? It takes time.
Right.
Like it's not something that happens because you need to remember. This is going to be so controversial, and I apologize for anybody if I offend them right now. I'm trying to say this in love, but most gay people, and I'm talking about 60% of gay people, have suffered severe childhood sexual trauma in their lives, right? So, and that's what's altered them. And then also they've lived in a world that's told them that they need to embrace that behavior ultimately to be happy. And once you get over those two things, once you come to peace with this childhood trauma and you don't want to live in the world anymore, you want to live you want to live in the kingdom of heaven. Once you come to those two things, those sorts of things just seem to sort of fade away. Those feelings sort of fade away. Those sexual attractions, if that makes sense.
Well, it's because you found your identity in something else, isn't it? It's people think that being gay is like they found their identity.
Yeah.
Which I think we touched on it last episode. If they've really found their true selves, how come they all sort of then adopt the same mannerisms and start talking the same way? It sort of doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, something I find really interesting is Christ said we're gonna have to pick up our crosses, and that means there's going to be something in our Christian lives which is going to be really tough. And that applies to everyone. So there's going to be something which is going to be like carrying a cross.
Yeah.
And if you find in your Christian life that there's nothing you can point to, which is hard, that you're trying to give up, then maybe you haven't really got the right theology. I'm not sure. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I agree. Like that. I mean, you need to be out of your comfort zone. I think you need to spend as much time out. As soon as you get comfortable, there's a problem.
Yeah.
It's like I think everyone can fall into it at some point where you think you're sort of done.
Yeah.
You're a Christian now. You're done. There's no more working that needs to be involved. But
the real problem with that is that you're kind of asserting that I am now perfect. Everyone.
Yeah.
I am fine. But I'm pretty sure.
Allow me to disagree with you guys. Okay. So here's where we disagree theologically anyway. Or maybe we don't. Maybe we're on the same page. But so I think once you are saved, the work has been done, but everything else is purely for the glory of God and secondary, right? So that's why if you're on your deathbed, about to die, and then you become a Christian, obviously you would go to heaven, and you'd be exactly the same level of righteousness. You'd be entitled to exactly the same level as treasure as everybody else. That's what it says in Revelation. I want to get the verse up now, but it says in Revelation about how they're all accounted for, and not one of them is accounted for more than the other. I can't remember what it's called, but basically, we're all going to be wearing the same wedding robe in heaven. Nobody's clothes are going to be more glorious than anybody else's.
Incorrect.
Oh, you're wrong.
The
You
cloak
rob-
of righteousness and the cloak of salvation, right?
The robe of righteousness and the gown of salvation. There again. Different clothes.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, man.
I suppose
I think-
just to take on. Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
What I was just going to say, it could be in terms of like magnitude and like in terms of merit, the two garments are no different. But then
Yeah.
you know, I think the way I look at that, I think that could be something like if someone's lived as a Christian their whole life, they've grown up as a Christian, perhaps there you'd be looking at a cloak of righteousness or a gown of righteousness. Do you know what I mean? And then someone like the thief would be the thief that was crucified beside Jesus.
Yeah.
He'd be looking at something like a gown of salvation.
I don't really
But I
know,
don't know.
man.
It's a lot of revelations. It's like I don't know. It's not easy to interpret.
Yeah. Well, there's no real way we can know right now, I guess. But
Yeah, so just to go back to what I was saying before, I think I definitely agree with you. You know, we're saved now, but if we're still sinning now, then shouldn't we still be trying to go away from that? I mean, should we not be endeavoring to stop sinning and things?
No,
We're saved, and we're not trying to work to try and gain salvation. But
well,
Yeah.
you're wrong.
I'm wrong.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me explain. Okay. So you know
Okay.
how like the body is sinful.
Uh-huh.
We should try and sin as much as possible.
Okay.
So then there's more grace from Christ.
Oh. There it is. There's the first century heresy.
No, I'm kidding.
I hope you're not planning to get any books published, right? with any certain publishing agencies called Lifeway or whatever they're called, because they ain't having none of that nonsense.
My
my
plan
friend.
is ruined.
Ugh.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. We should, but it's not like in this life we will ever get to the point where we are morally perfect and we attempted to sin and then every single time we laugh and go, ha ha, no. We will always be struggling with the same problems in many ways. Some problems will get worse, some will get better, but in the end, when we're remade at the resurrection, we will be perfect in the same way. But that's going to happen no matter what. So the guy who's worked his butt off all his life as a Christian is going to be equally as holy and equally as righteous as the guy that just converted on his deathbed.
Yeah, I think it's like what me and Jake we were talking about it a little while ago. It's like it goes further than a change in guilt, and it's a change in nature anyway. So I mean, you know, you can commit sort of crimes against God, but it's ultimately a change of nature that striving is really gonna where the reward is gonna be. It's not necessarily gonna be in the amount that you sin or the amount that you fail.
This is the topic that me and my dad have been studying for quite a while. I think I've mentioned this to you guys before.
Yeah.
That like the relationship between faith and works, and really the book that puts this in perspective, if there's any Christian listeners who want to kind of see the controversy behind this conversation, it's James, specifically chapter 2, because in there he talks about how that's in where it says that faith is dead without faith without works is dead. And he also says, he goes on about how like if someone has faith but does no good work, can those good works save him? And can that faith save him? And all this other type of stuff that really like implies that works are necessary for salvation. But you kind of, which looks like it contradicts what Paul says, where he says that works don't matter. They're good things to do, like you're supposed to do them, but they're not the basis
They won't
on
save
which
you
you're
either.
saved.
Yeah.
So, like, the kind of conclusion that we're reaching, me and my dad, is that, like, you are saved by the faith that leads to good works. That's what saving faith is. If you've got the type of faith that kind of leads you to not be bothered about God and not be bothered to work for God and be obedient to Him, then that's not the kind of saving faith. That's not going to save you. That
a different type of faith, yeah.
Yeah. So it's about
Interesting.
there's faith in different natures, right? Like, believing that God exists isn't going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
Paul says that the demons believe that God exists. And,
Yeah.
You know,
The devil
they travel
believes in
through-
God, yeah.
Exactly. It's the faith that leads to good works is the one that's going to save you, and it's like so important to keep a hold of that as well. You've got to constantly be on your guard with that kind of like holding on to that faith.
There's questions, isn't there, that you've always got to be asking yourself about yourself and what you're doing. I
True.
think.
Like Paul says, examine yourself to see if you're in the faith.
Yeah.
If you
Hold your thoughts captive.
yeah.
I think it's one of the hardest things about being a Christian.
It's funny though because it talks about how like Jesus mentions how staying with him is so easy, and I think there is a truth to that. It seems like it's so difficult coming from like a
That's
worldly
the thing
perspective
that
to get
amazes me, is that everything that Jesus brings is so simple.
there.
There's such a simplicity to it, and then we come along and we make things so complicated, and people start adding their names onto it, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and in a way reading too far into it, you know, where it's like you've got to ask the question: is this person being like a child? You know, as we are called to be. You know, I don't know, and it's at the end of the day, it's not like we can ever put a formula on God and on. Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult.
Yeah. Well, you know, I would disagree theologically, but that's fine.
Right.
Let me sit in my disagreement in a little corner of the room.
I linked a thing in the Facebook chat. I remembered it. Have you guys ever seen Passion for Christ movement?
I don't think I have.
It's like a spoken word thing. Really, really good. Like basically
Maybe.
poetry. But this one that I've linked, obviously you don't have to watch it now or anything. It's a guy that used to be gay, and like he's
Really?
yeah.
That's
it's
interesting.
so crazy.
That's
Really,
so
really good.
interesting.
Wow.
Also, on another sort of related note, recently, so there's a guy called Eugene Peterson who is
I know,
also
I've
a
heard of
Christian
that.
author, and he is now saying, actually, I don't support same-sex marriage. So he had a translation out.
The message.
Where it was like a what was it, like a
It's called The Message.
contemporary sort of language Bible. Yeah.
It's good.
Is it good?
I heard
Yeah,
it
it's
was
good.
awful.
Nah, it's good. I've read it. I've read the whole translation of the message. It's pretty good. It's good, but don't use it for Bible study. But it's good. Like
Right.
it's good if you want to just get a grasp as to what
Yeah.
the word's getting at.
Mm.
Don't use it if you want any serious study. But it
Yeah,
is
'cause
good.
I saw there was like one article on Facebook that said he's come out and said that he supports same-sex marriage, and then I literally scrolled about like a few scroll wheels down, and then there was another article with the exact same picture, and it said
Yeah,
actually
No
no, he
longer.
doesn't. And it was like what?
yeah. He says he got backed into a corner, didn't he?
Yeah. It's the same thing with Thingy Farron,
Tim Farron, yeah.
Tim Farron.
Right.
I don't think he ever believed that it was okay to be in a same-sex relationship. I think he was just scared into saying that it wasn't a sin.
Yeah, well, there was
That
actually
still gets me there. The idea that a non-Christian can be like, well, I think it's offensive that you think it's a sin when I don't even believe that sin exists anyway, so it doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
I suppose there's some negative connotations.
I suppose so.
Yeah, but why would you care though? Hypothetically, if a Muslim said to me, "Do you know what you're doing is shirk. It's committing shirk to Allah,"
Yeah.
I would go, "Do you know what? I don't care." Sorry,
I don't
Farron.
believe
Yeah.
in shirk, so that's
guess that's
fine.
fair.
And the other thing is as well, like, if it, obviously when you come into that conversation of is this sin or is this sin, you presupposing that sin exists. You're also sort of presupposing that we're all equally guilty. So it's like, if you're going to enter that conversation, to presuppose that it exists, to ask if he thinks that being gay is sin, you're also presupposing that he is aware that he's just as guilty as anyone else anyway. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like a like discriminating.
I suppose it's on the same kind of vein as like, I don't believe that God exists, but I also hate him.
Yeah.
When you say that, when they get offended, it's that something they're doing sinful.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous, isn't it? That there's no end to that sort of what would it be? A contradictory statements like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what was it I was watching recently? I think it was a debate, and I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe this guy's only arguments for atheism were entirely contradictory. It doesn't make any sense. You can't.
It's like you've got to use the Judeo-Christian worldview to prop you up, on which, you know, for you then to even be able to criticize it.
Yeah, you can't say God is a moral monster, and then at the same time say, and there's no evidence, so what does it matter? And it's like, God can't not exist and be a moral monster. That doesn't make any sense. If there is no God, there is no morality anyway. So your whole argument for morality isn't going to work.
That's the classic Ravi one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh man, I love that one. I've used that so many times on people.
What's that, sorry?
The Ravi one, where with the problem of evil. If someone asks why there's so much evil, well, if you think there's evil, then you're presupposing that there must be good. So you think there's good and evil. You know, intrinsic moral law. There must be a lawgiver, sort of thing.
John Lennox puts it quite well when he really drills it home that it's literally just like personal preference.
Yeah.
You think that killing a baby would be wrong, but someone else thinks it's right. What right do you have to like have anything against them for it when it's entirely personal preference?
And I've seen so often, when you ask this of atheists, like, and you just say, well, why is this wrong? And because this and this, well, why is this wrong? It ends up getting down to the law, as though the law's got something to do with it. Like, when it's because it's against the law. It's like,
but the law comes from people.
Yeah,
right?
as well. So someone's decided the law based on what they also think is right and wrong. But is it right and wrong?
Yeah. Was the law decided from morality, or is morality decided from the law?
Exactly. Yeah. It is actually, it is circular reasoning. As soon as someone tries to say that something's immoral because of the law,
it's weird.
It's true. Yeah.
I've tried to do that a few times, and like every time it just comes. You're right. It seems like they don't grasp really what you're getting at when you say like they say murder is wrong bad? Because it hurts people. Be like, so what? Why is hurting people bad? Well, because it's it's not beneficial. Why is that bad? Like they never get the point that you've got to look higher than just the consequentialism. There's something deeper than that,
And if you did just say, well, it's against the law, I mean, then nothing would ever get reformed because you'd never change the law.
Yeah.
And then, so I mean, why don't we go back to Roman law or anything else?
Yeah. In fact, it makes you wonder why people then petition against laws and protest against laws.
Yeah.
Well, within that framework, anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you're debating someone that takes it to law equals morals type of thing.
Well, that's actually a huge debate in law, because I covered it as one of the things in my dissertation. One of the debates is, are society's laws, are they reflective of what society holds as a generalization, or do they enforce what society holds as a generalization? Like, do we make laws? Do we change laws because society's values have changed, or do we change laws because we want to change society's values? Is the question.
Yeah, both, I think. That is interesting. That is really interesting. Yeah, it's like the law is suddenly it's more recently, I think, becoming a tool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than the result of people's opinions. It's like a tool. It's another a political means.
I do think though that, I mean, I kind of spoke about this a bit last week, but like the role of government and the role of like state law, I don't think it should be used for the sake of like reform of societal reform, because I think society should be independent of government.
In terms of what? Like, give an example.
Like, we're just talking about how, like, the potential for law to be used to shape society in what you want it to be like.
Yeah.
Or to reflect society on how it is currently. I don't think the law should be that deeply ingrained in society at all.
The law should have no bearing on the social paradigm.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it should be the other way around.
Government and government law, by extension, should be entirely about protection of the people.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, how do you define protection of the people?
Well, I mean, I was just thinking about that actually. You've got to kind of look. It's definitely going to be a case by case kind of thing, and it can definitely spiral out of control when you start to add things in that you could consider to be protective measures. But I think, I mean, at the fundamentals, it's things like physical harm, which includes assault and murder, I suppose, and like rape, and theft. That's the fundamentals, right? Yeah.
Quality of life in general, really.
Yeah.
Well-being, happiness.
So protection also covers quality of life.
Yeah, I would say so.
As in, well, quality of life from the perspective of other people's intervention in that quality of life. So, like, no, I don't know actually. Oh, this is too much. This isn't my job. I'm not trained in any of this stuff.
I mean, even things like
full-fledged government reform here.
Even things like legislation on emissions. You're just protecting people's quality of life, aren't you?
I mean, this is one of the debates from the beginning of time, isn't it? What's the role of government? From when we have the government anyway. What's the role of government? There's no easy answer to that question. I mean, it's clear too much government is a bad thing. Like, if you look at communist dictatorships, for example, clearly a bad thing. If you look at even, I mean, it's hard because in places that basically had no governments, there isn't any, what's it called? Like, there isn't any actual documents about the time because nobody was keeping track in times when there was no government. Yeah. So there's no way of knowing if it was beneficial or not.
I'm trying to look at it in the kind of ultimate perspective, right, where the actions of an individual are ultimately going to be judged by God, right?
Yeah.
Meaning, all that's left for the government to really do is to protect people, and anything outside of, like, I kind of went into this on a video that I did about the when is violence necessary. Right, and ultimately that's what the government is there for, right? It's to administer violence, it's to administer force to prevent things from happening. And I think you've got to be really careful on where where the line is on where it's right to apply force. And to appeal to the video that I made earlier, I think the line is if someone's not in danger of something. If someone's not in, like, physical harm, then you're overstepping the mark by applying force.
So what about with theft, though?
Well, yeah,
I mean, I remember in a conversation we were talking about this ages ago about violence and the use of it in the Old Testament. Don't ask me exactly where it is. But it says that if someone breaks into your house, and there's a struggle, and they end up losing their life, it's not on your head. There's no blood on your hands,
right? Yeah.
Because you're just protecting you and yours.
Well, in this kind of society, though, that was the society where in your house would be all your family.
Hmm.
So I mean, that's protection of other people.
Yeah, but I mean, even if it's just a thief.
Sure, but I mean, an intruder's an intruder.
Yeah, it's true.
You
I
don't
guess
know
you
what
don't
a
know
thief
what
is
their
capable of.
intentions are.
Yeah,
Plus, what was the consequences of being a thief at that time?
that's true.
Because the thief may be more likely to react violently in that situation if it means they can escape and get away with it. Especially if it's their own death, then it might be a life and death situation for them, and therefore life and death for you. For your own. But obviously it's a bit different now, I guess.
Yeah, it's tough because, I mean, I would say one problem I have when even trying to understand scripture is how different. Like if you look at our world, the society we live in the 1800s, everything we had took a skyrocket up. Our healthcare skyrocketed. The amount of money we have skyrocketed. The Industrial Revolution revolutionized Western world more than anything that ever happened before in terms of like agriculture and production. So it's crazy. It's hard for us to even understand really what it was like in so many ways, especially because we're not like history experts. And it's hard for us to understand the conditions under which they lived in compared to how, if you think about it, we've got things incredibly soft now. Our whole lives are incredibly cushy compared to Israel, for example. It's tough though.
Boy, this is a lot more of a theological episode than we've had before.
It is, yeah. It could be because a lot of the points I've brought up have been to do with Christian stuff.
Yeah.
It's good.
I've got a potential candidate for Derp of the Week. I don't know if anyone else has seen anything that they think is derp worthy this week, but here's one that I think is derp worthy this
I'm
week.
excited.
And I'll just fill you in. I'm gonna do an accent for this one. So the Canadian government has condemned Chechnya for reportedly torturing and killing gay men.
Yeah.
So Ramzan Kadyrov says, "There are no gay men in Chechnya, but if there were, we would send them to Canada." So basically, the head of the Chechen Republic, right? When he's recently been coming under fire because apparently there's been some pretty gross mistreatment of gay men in Chechnya. Mm-hmm. He's literally said there aren't gay people in Chechnya, but if there were, we take them to Canada.
It's the best bluff I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, there just aren't any gay people in Chechnya. I don't know what you're talking about.
Homosexuality is not real in this section of world.
There might not be any left.
I mean, this is completely unrelated. I've got a feeling. Let me just check this before I actually say anything.
Alright, here we go. Radical claim number 30.
Is it as radical as saying there's no gay men in the whole of Chechnya?
Possibly not, like.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he is a Muslim. So, yeah, I seem to remember he mentioned...
Oh, yeah, he would be, wouldn't he?
He mentioned Allah and how it was against the sort of Allah's commandments and stuff like that as well in his statement. Which I'm surprised that the leader of Chechnya is a Muslim. I don't know. That caught me off guard a little bit.
Well, have you not heard? Chechnya is like a Muslim country now.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like right next to Russia, isn't it?
Everything's going that way, man.
It used to be a part of Russia.
Hmm.
UK is going to be a Muslim country soon, boys.
Do you think so?
Probably.
I was in a Bible study. True story, everybody. Gather round. I was in a Bible study in Ukraine, and the guy leading the study was going on about how Islam was rising in Europe, and then he turned to me, and then he was like, yeah, like his country's already been taken over by Muslims. And I was kind of like, I was half in the mind to say something, and I was kind of on the other hand, I was like, but you can't deny we've got a bit of an issue when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it's fair to say Great Britain is not a Muslim country. You know what I mean. We're pretty far from that. We're not living in sixth century. We're not living in sixth century. In sixth century Arabia, we like all other Muslim countries, but I think. Do you guys think we could go there? Do you think there's a chance we could become a Muslim country?
Well, the thing is,
Probably.
it doesn't even matter like how difficult it's going to be to change people's minds. Because as long as Muslims keep to coming here and like having 8 kids, it doesn't matter if they can change people's minds or not. Like, we're just going to get outnumbered, and that's it.
Yeah. Some of these headlines just make me laugh. So Ramazan Kadyrov denies existence of gay men in Chechnya. Which ones? They just do not exist, Tavarish.
Well,
I see God.
You wanted the figures. So 95% of the people in Chechnya are Muslims.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Where are these gay men?
Yeah, it's all his close personal friends
Yeah.
or the 5%.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's odd that they're Muslims. I never saw that one coming.
Yeah, it's
Famous
interesting.
last words for the fate of the UK. That like never saw that one coming.
Well, they say that Greece is going to become a Muslim country very
Yeah.
soon.
Well, that was something the UK's first Muslim MP. I remember I saw a video of him at like an Islamic rally, screaming about how he wanted all of our MPs to be Muslims, and he wanted us to have a Muslim prime minister, and that was like basically at the forefront of his endeavours was to get us a Muslim prime minister. It's like his entire priority was for Islam in the UK. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
The guy just was not interested in people like me, for example.
But if it's truly a Muslim, that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it does make sense.
The Quran says that Muslims have to be the dominant in the land, whatever land they're in. They have to make themselves dominant in the land.
Yeah.
But I think, though, this is getting more political, but I think one of the things that really damaged Labour this past decade has been the fact that they have so many Muslim MPs now. Like, I think most people don't want to vote Muslim MPs. I mean, we hear this narrative that, Islam's great, everything's great with Islam, they're the most accepting people in the world.
Again, it comes from the journalist demographic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
We never hear about the people that don't like the idea of having a Muslim MP. Yeah.
But I think most people aren't going to fall for it. And I think that when they see a Muslim is getting elected, I think they're very wary of that ideology.
I mean, you can see it. It's plain to see that their priorities are not where a politician's priorities should be. You know, they're there for Islam. They're not there for constituents. As you know, if they're not Muslims, for example.
Have you heard about Caitlyn Jenner?
I've heard things about her in the past. Recently, what's happened?
She's thinking of running for U.S. Senate. Thinking of becoming a politician.
Potential derp of the week number 2.
Who is she?
Seriously?
Yeah. Who?
You know Bruce Jenner?
Bruce Jenner.
Bruce Jenner.
Yeah, he was like an athlete.
Oh, okay. An
He's
athlete.
Sorry?
Okay. Athlete. Okay.
Yeah, he was an athlete, and then he's like, I don't know what relation he is to the Kardashians, but he's one of the Kardashians basically.
Okay.
He got a sex change a little while ago and changed his name to Kylie.
So
Caitlyn.
Sorry,
Is
not
that who-
Kylie.
South Park was taking the nick out for quite a while.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. I see.
Yes. That was the South Park thing we did, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Come on, Caitlyn.
If we could just hop on back to date with the week there with the one nominee that we have.
I
Anyone else got any other thoughts for derp of the week?
don't know. Have you guys seen anybody being silly this week?
I would like to formally apologise for my complete lack of preparation for this.
I did see. I mean, it's derp of the week for the entire SJW clan. But, there was a few days ago, Stephen Crowder uploaded a video that was like a 2012 SJW debating a modern SJW.
Oh, right.
And it was like a 2012 SJW being like really quite like understandable, you know, like bringing out how like everyone should just be, you know, colorblind. No one should look at the color of the person they're talking to. Everyone should be treated equally.
Yeah.
And then the the modern one was going like, how dare you? That's just pure white people not wanting to take a hold of their white guilt and accept how evil their entire race is, and like all this kind of stuff. It's pretty good. I'll put a link for it in the old description there.
I saw a picture of something that an SJW put on Twitter, and it was something along the what was it? It was like they were saying that we were being forced into wage labour in Western society. It's like, no, that's your job. And someone commented like, yeah, someone commented, well, you're not being forced into anything. You've gone and got a job so you can afford to pay an iPhone to look at like these like mental tweets about how oppressed you are.
Slammed. Well, yeah, I suppose. I mean, I don't know. It seems a bit raj to have the full SJW clan be the Dave of the week. That's a lot of tweets that Adam's gonna have to send out.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just go for that guy, the Chechen. That is pretty funny. Like,
gays in Chechnya is not real. It's not a real thing.
It's impossible.
I not believe. I sorry.
Yeah, right. That's a Victor then. The
Ramzan Kadyrov.
that's the one.
Congratulations, Ramzan.
He proper just looks like an arms dealer as well.
That's racist.
What do you mean?
Surely that's racist.
How?
Is he a? I mean, we say he's a Muslim. Is he like a Chechen national?
He's white.
Alright, okay. Fair enough. If he's a white guy, I suppose it's alright to say that he looks like an arms dealer.
I don't know, he does. Have a look at him, mate.
What's his name?
Ramzan Kadyrov. Just proper. I would not trust that guy as far as I can throw him, fam. I just wouldn't.
Oh my gosh, he does as well.
I'm not even kidding, man.
He is full on. I'll sell you 20 AKs for a tenner, mate.
It's that cheeky smile he's got, I know.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, if only you knew what I have in Bhutan.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, right. Oh, whoa, there's a picture of him with a gun as well. No way.
Mate, I'm not even surprised.
Ramzan Kadyrov.
That was good.
Ramzan.
There's one with him carrying an alligator or something out over.
It's all from that place. I mean, you've seen some of the stuff Putin's got up to in his campaigns. As though he actually needs to campaign anyway.
Oh my
Gosh.
goodness, there's one here with a... He's like giving a speech, he's holding a microphone. And in the other hand, he's got a golden pistol. I don't understand. Who is this man?
Would you expect anything else from someone from the leader of Chechnya?
What a fantastic fella.
Oh my gosh.
Gays do
With-
not exist in Chechnya.
And every single picture he looks more and more suspect, doesn't he,
Oh,
this
nah.
guy?
The hats he's wearing.
My
He's wearing these
gosh.
strange, slightly military-looking uniforms.
Whenever I don't know why, but whenever you see a white Muslim, I don't know why, it makes me feel so weird inside. I can't explain it. Something doesn't add up right whenever you do it.
There's a strangeness about it in there.
Yeah. Like, because he has like a faint mustache, but because it says in one of the hadiths about how Muslims should shave off their mustaches because Christians wear mustaches and you don't want to be disgusting like them.
Yeah.
And he's got like a faint mustache, but my gosh, it's odd. And whenever you see, because like when you see like a Middle Eastern looking person who's a Muslim, you kind of like, well, they've both been born up into that culture. That's fine. Well, it's not fine. It's terrible. But what I'm saying is, whenever you see like a white person who's converted, so somebody who might be presumably from like England, like a young English girl who converted to Islam, I think, why would you do that? What is going on?
Well, there were those mental ones where those young girls went to some other country, didn't they? Started wearing hijabs and things.
Yeah.
Like, what motivation did you have to do that?
Oh my days. Well, because I think one of the reasons is because they are just lied about it, aren't they? They are just lied about Islam.
It's glorified.
Hmm.
The more attacks there are, the more it's glorified. Have you ever been on religionofpeace.org?
Yeah.
What a website, man.
You know, there's another one, but it's banned in the UK called Jihad Watch as well. Run by Robert Spencer, and that's been banned in the UK as hate speech.
Is it good?
I don't know, mate. I wish I could see it.
I'm gonna have a look on the Religion of Peace one.
Well, I've just downloaded 5 photos of that guy to put on the Date of the Week video.
I'm almost scared to tweet him because I feel like I'd get assassinated.
Yeah, right. That's okay. That's insane.
Oh, offered a discount on arms.
Scrolling down, scrolling down the Google Images page where I've searched his name. There's just one of Steven Seagal.
Steven
Right.
Seagal, really?
Yeah, I don't know why.
That's
So he's
weird.
the Chechen
Maybe
equivalent.
they're related.
Could be.
What do you guys think about aliens?
What about him? I've never met
Like-
one. If that's what you're asking.
Like, what do you guys think? Are they real or are they unreal?
It's funny, I was listening to a debate between Mike Lycona and... Was it Mike Lycona?
I don't know, mate. I wasn't there.
Correct.
I can't remember the guy's name. Mike Delahunty or something? Like an atheist
Oh.
speaker.
I've heard of him.
Yeah,
What's
they
his
were
name?
having a debate, and Mike Lycona was talking about UFO sightings, and I mean, he's a dude that if you bring up a topic, he's like read at least 3 books on it, like, and he'll be like, oh well, as a layperson, and then he'll like mention like 3 massive books that he's read on it, and like be quoting these books, but he was saying. And I can't remember exactly what the reasoning was, but I could certainly understand the line of thought that, and I think it's the view that I take, that a lot of UFO sightings and stuff like that, I think, are genuine sightings of UFOs, but I just don't think they're aliens. I think it's like a spiritual, demonic type thing.
All right.
Man, do you know what you just did?
Mm.
Do you know what you just did?
I read your mind, mate.
That's exactly what you just did, mate. Exactly. I am in 100% agreement with Oliver right now. Right? I think all sightings of aliens thus far have been a demonic apparition or attack. Absolutely.
If they've been genuine, like if they've been sincere sightings,
Yeah.
I think a lot of them, if
Absolutely.
they've not been a misunderstanding, it's been something demonic.
Absolutely,
think aliens exist.
100%. I'm in your camp, absolutely 100%. I've actually got a story for you guys. So I've been talking to this guy at Food Bank, right? Been trying to share the gospel with him, and he's like a very, very like a committed atheist, right? He's absolutely committed. He says atheist, and there's no such supernatural thing or anything. But here's where it gets weird. I recently found out that he is very weird about aliens, right? You tell me what you think of this story. So he was like, there's kind of 2 and they add into each other. And it absolutely convinced me that it's demonic, right? But what happened was, he said he was walking to school with his kid, and he admits there's a lot of things that could have happened. And he thinks he was abducted by aliens, but he said he was walking to school with his kid. And then what happened was, He was at the top of this hill, and he checked his clock, and he knew he had an hour before he got to school, and he wanted to get there early. Because if he got to school at 8 o'clock, they had free school breakfast for like disabled kids, and his son's disabled. And then they said, if he and basically he was at the top of this hill, and then he says all he remembers is being down at the bottom of the hill, right? And then when he went to the school, they were like, "Oh, you're late. Like you're late." And it turned out that it was an hour later than he thought it was. Right, and he didn't remember walking down this hill. And then he says when he got home, he checked him and his son, and they were covered in scratches. Right, and and trust me, this is a guy who is a committed atheist. This is very odd coming from him. So that's the first story. And the second story was he says that his son used to tell him that he was being visited by, I can't remember what he called him, but he said a grey man, and he said that this grey man would come down, and that this grey man would play with him, and then this grey man would leave. And then he asked him to draw this grey man, and apparently he drew an alien, like what we would consider to be a little grey alien man. And that absolutely convinced me that it's demonic, 100%.
Do you guys know who Aleister Crowley was?
Yes.
Supposedly the most evil man in Britain. People called him at the time.
Oh, Mr. Crowley, right? Yeah.
Big in the occult type thing. I think he was brought up in a Christian sort of background, but he basically was one of the earliest sort of Satanists, as we know them.
Yeah.
But he was big into that sort of thing, dabbling in all sorts of mental stuff, and he claimed to have actually had a demon physically manifest before him, and he drew it. He drew a picture of it. Bearing in mind this is before Hollywood, and the picture, I'll see if I can get a picture up that I can show you. But the picture is pretty much like, it's super similar to a Hollywood grey alien. You know, the sort of the representation of an alien that we've got because of all of the sightings that people have had.
This is scary stuff. This. I've never ever thought about this before.
I'll put it in the Facebook thing. But that is, that's a drawing of the demon that apparently manifested itself to Mr. Crowley. I'll put a picture of Mr. Crowley on there as well.
Oh, no way. That is crazy.
So, I mean, obviously I've not looked into it a huge amount. But that's where I would put my money at the moment if I was a gambling man.
Yeah, I've never. Oh, is that the guy?
Yeah, that's him in later life.
Well, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
When I was down there visiting him in his little hovel under the garden where he lives. Basically, do you want to ask it again, Will?
Yeah. Do you think it was inspired by Hollywood? That picture, do you think it inspired Hollywood? Or do you think, do you think that inspired Hollywood and that's how it got?
No,
based?
so what inspired Hollywood was people that had claimed to have been abducted by UFOs and seen grey aliens. They described aliens, and that's what independently inspired Hollywood. But it's just so happens that this guy, obviously, he was a devil worshipper, and that was a drawing that he did of a demon that he saw physically. So it's crazy, it's just stark similarity, isn't it?
But there's one thing that I kind of take issue with. Not an issue with this theory. I absolutely subscribe to the belief that aliens are demonic apparitions. But what I'm saying is, demons are as old as. Well, they're older than the Earth, right? They're older than our physical creation. So shouldn't there be old drawings of aliens, like really old drawings of aliens? You know what I mean? You picking up what I'm throwing down, sisters?
Have you seen some of the hieroglyphic stuff?
No.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be certain on this because it was years ago that I actually looked into it. But like, there's hieroglyphs all over the pyramids of people with like elongated skulls and like abnormally long fingers and stuff like that.
I'd have to look it up. I don't really know, but one thing I will say is that one of the things that convinced me is whenever you see these alien sightings, is always stuff that, and you will know this, Will, as like a scientist, is one of
What?
these. Well, I know you're not properly a scientist. You're a climate scientist. You're a science of
I'm not
weather.
even a client scientist. I'm an engineer.
Oh yeah, whatever. But like
Near enough.
when you see these alien ships, they always do stuff that defy the laws of physics. They always like go ridiculous speeds and then turn around the other direction.
This is what Lycona talked about, that was mentioned in these books that he'd read. Was that like, so some of the sightings, and when they talk about the speed, like nearby trees should have been uprooted and things like that. The sort of inertia just caused in the air and things like.
Yeah.
I've just had a quick Google of aliens in ancient artwork, and the first ones that come up are specifically aliens in religious ancient artwork.
Right.
But most of it seems to be UFO. There's
What do you mean?
one, like most of it seems to be of UFOs, not of like the little grey man type of aliens.
Oh right, yeah. There are some that look like there's like machines, like and vehicles and things, isn't there?
Yeah. Like the flying saucer thing seems to come up a fair amount. Like.
But I mean, there's also the skulls. I think was it Chile or somewhere, like old Aztec skulls, where they discovered there was a fashion of like from a young age, they would bind their heads like a wooden plate on the back and front of their head, really tightly, sort of tied on.
Yeah.
Like a
and
vice.
and it would elongate their heads.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just what that makes me think is, were they like doing that to look like something that they had seen, or
imitate
like what was their
something.
what was their motivation for doing that? I don't know.
I suppose similarly, you could kind of think about the Egyptian, like the pharaoh headdresses, would make them look like their heads are really long.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of stuff about the Egyptians having alien help with building the pyramids, like.
Oh, well, yeah. I wouldn't want to fully put on the tinfoil hat on that one.
But to quote your very own words, you can't be too keen to abandon the tinfoil hat.
No, you can't. You've got to have it at arm's reach, like, but you don't want to. You don't want to be too hasty to put it on.
I've actually just started putting one on every time we begin the podcast now.
Yeah. That's what we should do, is like an intro thing to this. Is it just goes through each one of us, just very pensively, just placing a tinfoil hat on our head.
I mean, now you've said it, it's got to be a thing, on it. We've got to do it.
Or just anytime anyone says anything that sounds like a conspiracy theory, like you could just edit in a clip of just that person putting a tinfoil hat on their head.
But guys, I've encountered another snag in our alien theory.
Right.
Get ready for this. Right. Here's the thing. If it is true that aliens are 100% demonic apparitions, right? We as Christians, we're not gonna.
What's that?
What is that?
There's an alien coming.
That was Will.
I think you mean a demon, my friend.
Yeah, sorry.
Was that you, Will?
What did I do? Well, Katia filled up the water.
That was it.
Oh, right.
Why? What did it sound
It
like?
sounded like
It sounded
full-on
like a
sparkle.
ship. Yeah, it sounded like an actual spaceship.
Yeah, I've actually been taken. I've been away for a while.
I don't really know what a spaceship sounds like, but I'll go along with that one.
But like, as a Christian, these things can't touch us, can they? Not really.
No.
They might be able to whisper in our ears and mess with our heads, but they can't come near us. The light
No.
lives within us. We can't confirm this theory.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, before I was a Christian, I saw a UFO.
Really?
Yeah. Obviously, I've got no clue what it was. Hence UFO. You know,
Yeah.
Might not have been demonic. It could have just been
A
you know,
drone.
a misunderstanding of some kind. Yeah.
A rock. So like a height through the air. Yeah,
The
boys,
only-
I'll be back in like
yeah.
15 minutes.
15. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm sorry, boys. Keep
No,
carrying on
Wait.
without us.
This alien thing, when I first heard it, it was from a Christian apologist called Phil Fernandez.
Mm.
And it really blew my mind, right? And since then, since then I've been kind of in the middle, not 100%, but now, since hearing that story, I'm like, yeah.
I'm sure that.
Aliens.
What
I want-
story? The Crowley one.
Both the
Okay.
Crowley one and what my friend told me, I'm absolutely convinced that it's demonic. Like another thing is, with these, when people claim that they've been abducted by aliens, like 90% of the time, their spouses will say to the police or whatever, well, he was actually just asleep in bed next to me and it looked like he was having a nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. I've just seen a quote as well that Aleister Crowley said. So today they call them angels and demons. Tomorrow they will call them something else.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. He was a strange dude.
Yeah, he was.
He thought that you should just indulge in everything, whether you like it or not. Just indulge in it to the maximum.
Of course you would.
That's crazy.
Absolute nutter.
Well, I just think people like that, I mean, they are still redeemable. You know what I mean? They're still redeemable, but it almost that person has almost been put aside to be specifically to cause issues and problems, if that makes sense. Like that guy did a lot of evil. Today, still thousands of people are inspired by the things he did and laid out.
I wonder what his sleep was like. Do you reckon he had any trouble sleeping?
I don't know. Do you reckon he was scared by those demon things he saw? Do you reckon he was scared?
What did he believe? Did he know where he was going?
Oh, it's a tough one. I don't really know. I'd love to see a quote from him about it.
People, I mean, Satanists now hold up the devil as being someone that fights for individuality and stuff like that, don't they?
Yeah.
They think the devil stands for freedom of expression, and yeah, it's mental.
That's just ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quite frankly. But I mean, I remember somebody telling me that once. Somebody saying, well, because life sucks, God must be the evil guy for making life like this, and the devil must be the good guy for being God's enemy, basically.
It's stupid.
But it's silly, isn't it?
It's so silly. You got the cause and effect. Well, you've got the causal relationships the wrong way around there.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. But and then when you have a conversation about aliens with somebody, this is just something that might be really interesting for you guys. Because one thing I always find, something that really frames the conversation ready for God, is when you have the conversation and then you go, well, actually, I don't believe aliens exist because the chances of life appearing in this universe at all are 1 in 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 123, which means the chances of it appearing on any single planet
Twice long past being functionally impossible.
Yeah, exactly. And then it says the chances are we are the only things in the universe. And then when you think of it like that, then that all of a sudden makes it like, well, if we are the only thing, if we are the only life in the universe, suddenly God is on the table for a lot of people, which is quite weird.
What if they believe in aliens? You mean?
Yeah, if they believe in aliens.
Yeah.
But only Christians tell me they don't believe in aliens. You know, I've never met a non-Christian who's told me he doesn't believe in aliens.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's plenty of people that. Well, I think a lot of people would be like, well, if space is infinite, there's got to be aliens knocking around somewhere.
Yeah.
I guess. Or people might be like, well, I just don't know. But
I think they get some kind of hope from aliens. Weirdly, I think it's a false hope, a deception.
Well, apparently, that's part of a running scientific theory as well. But because of the age of the Earth at being 4.5 billion, apparently, that is not actually long enough for I think it's called genetic super mix for us to be able to develop even one gene. Never mind all of the amounts that we have.
Really?
Yeah. So apparently, the working scientific theory is that we're actually aliens in a sense. There's been planted
Oh my
here.
gosh.
Yeah, and that apparently because the Earth is so fine-tuned, the most logical answer apparently is that aliens have allowed us to be so fine-tuned
Man.
and the world to be so.
So basically,
Remember
they're-
that quote that I used, Adam, in the last episode by that author, that agnostic author, and he said, "Will scientists, are they prepared to believe anything as long as it's not any sort of religious thought?" Yeah, it's true. They'll go out of their way.
So true.
I mean, that's what I forgot what his name is, but the guy who discovered the genes. I forgot what his name is, but essentially he believes in the spermatose theory or something like that, where a comet had crashed on the Earth, which brought life, and that's how it developed. So there's a couple of working theories, but they're both kind of a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
how would a comet that had life somehow in it get through the atmosphere without being burnt up and then spread around? And I don't know.
well, it's crazy because if you think about it, they are so clearly the signs point to an intelligent creator so much that they say, "Oh, it must have been an alien, an alien who did it. It's the only way," or it's like. It must have been something that was so unlikely as to happen that somehow there was a planet that was streaming with life, and then that must have exploded somehow. And some of the bacteria could somehow survive the vacuum of space and the temperature of space somehow, and then hit our planet somehow, and then somehow have been able to flourish and create life. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Although I do think we have to be careful whenever you use scientific argument as an argument, because it's constantly shifting. C.S. Lewis kind of warns against it, because whatever your strongest argument might be for something based on science could be different the next day and disproved. So it can't be a cornerstone in everything.
Because science isn't a universal truth, is it? There's nothing about it that's universally true.
What do you mean?
And so, even if you follow the scientific method perfectly, and then they say, we have proven, this is just an example, we have proven that carbon emissions equals climate change, right?
Uh-huh.
Even if they follow that through exactly, there could still be some element that they aren't seeing, some element they're not taking consideration. They might even be wrong without realizing it. And that's happened many times where we've had medicines and then we found out later on, actually, they're not good for you, they're bad for you. But we just hadn't, what we thought was scientifically proven was far from being scientifically proven.
Wait,
if that makes sense.
Are you telling me that I shouldn't be using leeches anymore?
No, well, leeches are a proven method.
Are you telling me that cigarettes are not good for pregnant women?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. Take that tinfoil hat off.
I'm not being funny. The entire time I was away, I was creasing the entire time about the prospect of us having an intro where we all just put tinfoil hats on. That just sounds like hilarious to me.
That would be funny.
It would be a funny joke, yeah.
There's actually pretty good evidence that this might make us sound crazy, but there's good evidence that people lived at the same time as dinosaurs. We've covered that. There's good evidence that there was actually There's good evidence that there was actually very, very sophisticated. There was a sophisticated civilization of people before our current understanding of when civilization began. That's quite interesting, I find.
Wow.
The world isn't what we think it is all of the time, and the fossil record doesn't make sense. If you take evolution as a factor in the fossil record, it doesn't add up. The fossils get more complex, not less, over time.
That is interesting.
That and the new Doctor Who is a woman.
I'm sorry?
The new Doctor Who is a lady.
Why isn't this in Tape of the Week?
It can be.
Stephen Moffat, what are you doing?
Oh, I don't know. I think if the new Doctor was a dog or something, it'd be a lot different. I think.
Oh, I think it'd be a lot different.
Chinchilla.
I'd watch it. I'm not gonna lie.
There's a alternate universe of Doctor. There's an alternate universe of Deadpool where Deadpool is a dog.
No way.
Yeah, that's funny.
What?
It's basically like Deadpool was experimented on before people, and he was a dog, and then he gets the power where he can't die, and basically he joins the circus as a freak dog that can't die, and they fire him out of cannons and stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
Maybe
Well, who was the guy who thought that sounds like a great idea?
I mean, you're asking. I mean, it's comic books, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, should we wrap up if we're planning to go to the cinema this evening?
Yeah. Was that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
That's good for me.
Well, someone's doing the outro and it's not me.
I know it's supposed to be Oliver. I thought.
Oh. Okay. Well, anyone who watched or is going to watch in the future, thanks a lot for watching. I hope things were interesting, not too offensive. I hope people weren't too distracted by our tinfoil hats. Yeah, thanks a lot for listening.
Bye-bye.
Pleasures.
Bye bye. Thanks for having me.
Catch you later.